Hi, everyone. This is Julia J. Gibbs. I'm really excited today to tell you about this amazing opportunity that is happening today on Facebook, actually at 8 tonight. And you'll be able to hear all about it from Lukas and Blake and Scott, who are the directors and the producers of the movie Mully. Just to give you a little detail about Mully, in case you have not had the opportunity yet to watch Mully. Mully is, every time I looked it up, it kept saying a rags to riches storyline about this amazing man named Dr. Charles Mully. But when I watched it, I have to say it was like that rags to riches was just the top of what this storyline is about. When you got into it, it delves into deeper meanings of what does it mean to be a disciple of Christ? What does it mean to be truly obedient when you hear a call from God? And what does it mean to live a life of forgiveness and compassion in the midst of a world that could offer you the easy button or the easy way through things? So I'm excited to have y'all here. And I guess, actually, I should say, Dr. Charles Mully did not have anything easy, but he could have if you watch his storyline later on in his life. But I'm excited to have y'all here. And I wanted to first start off by asking you, and maybe Scott, this is for you. Y'all are going to have to explain to us really the difference between the director and the producer relationship. But where did this story come from? Like, how did y'all find out about Charles Mully?
First of all, thanks for having us on your show here. It's really a pleasure to be here. I heard this story. I was first exposed to the story through John and Judy Bartis, our executive producers on the picture. They knew that this story needed to be told and that the world needed to hear this story. So they felt on their heart to reach out to me, and they did. And they sent me the book that Paul Bogie wrote called Father to the Fatherless. Mm-hmm. And in this book, I was blown away. I couldn't believe what I heard and read, and it seemed like something you would read in a Lord of the Rings type novel or some Hollywood tale that's not real, but it is real. Or one of those stories in the Bible that how is that possible? It's nothing we've seen with our own eyes. And I've known Lukas for many, many years, since I was basically almost a teenager. We had the Sherry Theater. We built it together, and it's in North Hollywood, and it's named after my mom. And Lukas and I just did that business for many, many years. And I asked Lukas, and I know Lukas had a heart for Africa. He's done a lot of mission work there, and it seemed like he was the right person to ask to see if he'd join in helping me tell this story. And just to be clear, Blake is somebody who has an interesting story with me. He's been producing many, many things with me and working alongside me for 10 years now. I met him. He was living in Australia, and I helped sponsor him to come to America. And he's still working with me daily. And he's been orchestrating this campaign. So during the process of Mully, Blake was always by my side, and I'd run things by him and talk to him. But Lukas was the producer of the film. Blake's been my personal producer, and he's working on the campaign right now. So it's really cool that Blake's here too. That's how I came to know of this miraculous story and how Lukas and I got started.
That's awesome. Now, Blake, can you tell me the difference? Okay, so when you get this story about Charles Mully, I'm guessing you had not met him yet. Is that right?
No. I mean, when I first heard this story, it was Scott. He had read this book, and he sat down and he told me this story about this incredible man in Africa who was orphaned at a very young age and worked his way up, purely off his own merit, and became a very, very wealthy man. And then one day decided that he wanted to make a change in his life and start helping other people. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. And yeah, that was the first time I heard it. It was, it blew me away. I'd never heard anything like it. As Scott said, it didn't seem real. It seemed unreal.
So when did y'all actually get to meet Mully?
Lukas, why don't you?
Sure. Yeah. So we, it was actually, we suddenly were, I don't even know if we found out when we had the request to even be a part of making this. it just so happened that Mully was speaking a couple days later up north in California. Scott and I were in Los Angeles, and John suggested, that the man that brought us on, to potentially hop in a plane and hop up to San Francisco area and meet with Mully to see about the possibility of making this film. And we jumped in a plane and flew up there and met him at his hotel. And we walked into this hotel and stood in the lobby and waited for this unknown figure to appear. And and him and his wife came down, and we went into a conference room. And Scott had this plan to film everything we could and just interview him and see who he was. And it was really a test, a trial on both sides. You know, John had asked Charles for the blessing to make a picture about his life. And I think Charles wanted to see who might be doing such a thing and who might come and tell his life story. And so we spent the whole evening there, and then left the next day and came home and found out that they were willing and wanted us to come make this film. And it was within 6 weeks that we planned a schedule and a budget and an idea and a script of how to put this movie together. And myself, Scott, another producer named Alyssa, and a cameraman, Justin, were on the grounds in Nairobi about 6 weeks later. And this was in end of 2013. And we got picked up by a team who drove us and delivered us to Charles in his Delani hut, like overhang office, outdoor office, with just a piece of wood and 4 posts, sitting in a chair saying, "Let's talk about making this movie."
So can you, one of you, whoever kind of is like, yeah, I'm really good at that, can y'all give me a summary, or like how you would walk in and be like, this is what Mully is about. Like, this is what it meant, or this is what it's about for someone.
Go ahead, Scott.
Just to clarify the question, it was, can you say,
how would you really summarize Mully? Like, if you had to, if someone has never watched Mully and is really like, okay, who is Mully? I've never heard of Dr. Charles Mully. Could you give a summary of like what this story is about?
Yeah, the story is an examination of an African humanitarian who became known as a humanitarian because his whole story started as an orphan, who was an orphan abandoned by his own family and had to fight to make his own way and to survive. And then he came to know God when he was on the brink of suicide. When he was 15 years old, he found himself in a church, and a pastor said some words that sparked a seed of faith in him. And then through his own hard work and dedication to staying alive and making a life for himself, he then met a wife in Esther Mully. And then he went, his business and business and business, all the many different facets of what he was doing grew and grew and grew until he was at the apex of oil and gas in all of Eastern Kenya. Extremely wealthy man. But as his wealth grew, he never forgot where he came from. But one day, some street kids were begging for some food and some money, and he didn't give it to them, and they stole his car. And that day he had to take he owned the bus system and the Matatu systems in Nairobi. He had his own, and he ended up taking his own bus home, and he started contemplating, and he started wrestling with this urge that he felt that God was calling him to completely redirect his life, to serve the orphans, serve the street kids, serve the who are less fortunate and needy, the women who are abused, the child prostitutes. He did, and he told his family, I'm stopping all my businesses and I'm devoting my life to this mission. And they thought he was crazy. He was kicked out of his church. There's a lot of things that I think that what I love about from my faith and what Charles Mully is there's so much about modern Christianity, which I don't coincide with, but do coincide with everything that Mully is. He is the 1000% beacon of what my faith is and what I think that God can do with one life, and what that one life can do and inspire the world. That's my version of Christianity, is what Mully's doing, because I think that's the true definition of it. And I don't want to spoil the movie, but what happens after he makes that decision is nothing short of miraculous. It's a series of events that is taking place even to this day. As we launch this movie globally, my partners in Lukas and Blake here have put together a campaign that is a global campaign going to reach every edge of the globe. I hope that people are inspired as light. People just get lit up in their spirit, and this story spreads, because this is something that I know everybody who I've ever met who's watched this film walks away asking themselves, what can I do to make the world a better place? So I just feel so fortunate to have been a part of this project. It's my greatest blessing I've gotten as a human.
I have to completely agree with you, Scott. There was so many things in this movie that y'all, as just as storytellers, I appreciated so much how you told an amazing story. There was already an amazing man, but y'all really pulled out an amazing story to tell for him. And part of that you just said was 1000%. He is what the gospel is about, in so many ways, of saying he acts and he lives in the likeness of Jesus Christ, in the true likeness. And you think about pure and undefiled religion is to take care of the orphan and to take care of the widow. And it always says in their distress. And I think so well you showed the heartbreak of in their distress that we can skip over so often in our American Christianity, that little section means you're going to have to work hard, that it's going to be a hard road. And y'all told that so well. Lukas, there's a scene in this movie that I wanted to know, as when y'all are filming this, did you feel the weight when you're filming it? Because when you're watching this, I mean, the weight, I would almost say the weight of glory. Like, man, this is what it looks like to be poured out. As Paul says, I am being poured out completely for the gospel. But there's this moment where y'all film him talking about the kids running away again. And as a mom of an adopted child from Africa, my son is from Congo, I identified so deeply with that scene when the kids run away again, because that is very common for children that have come from a lot of trauma. But he said he went and he found them. And the statement that he says at the end of that is he tells these kids, when he's telling them to come back, that this is home. You come back home. And so I wanted to know, Lukas, like, when you're filming this, do you hear what he's saying? And is it like all over you? Or are you just kind of in the moment? How does that work? I only know it from the watching it scene. And so I wanted to hear from you about the experiencing it side.
Well, yeah, two parts. I want to say a part, and then I want to prompt Scott to say a part. It's what, let me think of how to say it. I would say that it really is learning to follow that still small voice. And Scott, his commitment to excellence is reflective, especially in this, the things he chooses to do, he's going to do well. And so when he chooses to do it, it's going to be great. And so just to say, like, the weight of things that we're doing, when you to great detail, make sure that the interview looks excellent and set this person up and make him share his story until it's shared with the weight that we need to communicate to people, to know how to do that. Because like you're saying, you can hear someone just say something and it not hit you as an audience member if it's not well done. And so getting 10 hours of footage of an interview and said 10 different ways, the same story and over, so that the person's not worn down, but having to say it in a different way than they've ever said it because they've been shared their story a lot, or, all sorts of those things. And then we filmed all of the interviews and we came home for 6 months and listened to the interviews. And so then from that, Scott's listening and saying, out of all these things, what, pretty much 12 minutes of right. of the 17 hours of just Mully's interview do we use, and then hearing the things that matter, and you start just shaping. And, you know, so Scott knew after watching the interview parts what stuff to go and reenact. And that's what we went back to do 6 months later, to film pictures of what was said. And then, you know, my learning to listen part is hearing what Scott, we're always testing each other as a producer director. He's saying, I really need this. And I'm saying, are you sure you need that? And I'm saying, you know, I actually want to make sure we get this focus on the water. I think that's important, you know. And he's like, okay, how important? But this is more important. You're always figuring it out. We even had to take out a whole section of him and his father's relationship that was very important, but was it more important than the kids running away important? Right. And so for me, that's half of what the room is about. And Scott will cut and then edit and then work with the editor honing, and then we'll do sessions where we sit and listen, and he, you know, invites to hear, what do I think? And that's the point at which I'm trying to listen to see what parts do I share, and what's personally just something I do or don't like, and what is from God. That's kind of how I would answer that. But Scott, what's your take on that question?
My take is it's weird. I don't know how I've just been really okay. So we were about to go to Kenya for the first time, and Alyssa, Shay, and Lukas, are the producer, Alyssa, they sat me down and I said, what are we going to do when we get there? And I don't know yet. As it was in my head, I just didn't know, but I knew that I was formulating it. And it's kind of what I do with my acting too. I just kind of sit in the imagination of the story. And then I went outside and I prayed. And I remember I was walking to my driveway at that house at the time, and I saw the opening scene and the closing scene of the film. And then I saw how the movie goes. And I went inside and I wrote on one sheet of paper, we open with the rescue, and I don't want to say that, well, now you know, we end with it. But it's, I just saw that. And then, you know, and Lukas may not know this, but for me, I saw the movie through Lukas and I's pre-production, where I sat with Charles for breakfast for the first week of there. And I would ask him questions, and I would ask him a lot of questions. And then I would ask Esther questions. And it was a lot of this, and we did our first interview with him up in San Jose. So there was a lot of seeing these stories that came to life, and I was looking for, you know, conflict. I was looking for, where can I find, because, you know, drama is telling conflict. I mean, that's, even if it's man versus himself, man versus God, man versus environment, man versus, it's many different things, but it all involves conflict. So, you know, when I saw the kids running away, that the kids kept leaving, you know, there's a part of me that I don't have my own children yet, but I feel like I have the MCF children that I'm continuously helping. But I said, oh my gosh, you know, to go out to the streets and rescue a child and then have it run away because they think they know best, and then being a father in that position, it crushed me thinking about that. So that's one of the ones I put in there. And as Lukas talks about, there's this whole section with Charles and his father that when we got into the edit of the film, it would have distracted from the overall picture, because it was such a divergent story that, you know, maybe if it wasn't my first film, I might have seen that. But that was something you know, that was a misstep on me, but I felt like that moment, that was a very important story. And you get in the edit, you know, they always say you write 3 movies: the one you write, the one you shoot, and then the one you edit. And the one that you edit is the one that stays. So it's literally from those first conversations all the way to getting notes from my producers and my team and our test screenings and seeing what's tracking and what's not. It's literally just always checking the temperature. And I feel very lucky that I've been able to hopefully have my hand on a pulse that is resonating with people here.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. Blake, I was going to ask you, because it struck me really deeply in the film. And I just kind of want to ask y'all, because you never get to ask the directors and the producers of movies, like, did you see this? Was this on purpose? I was really struck by Mully's name of his first you know, when he started getting the cars and everything, the name of his business was Mully Ways. And then by the end, the name is Mully's Children's Family. I mean, is this on purpose, like that y'all did so well about showing, because when you're doing Mully Ways, it is his way. He's doing life, he's doing business, he's doing it his way. And then by the end, when you see that bus and it says Mully Children's Family, it's a complete shift in storyline. You get this beautiful moment. And I just had to know, like, is this, I mean, y'all knew that, right? Like, I just want to know that you're this smart and you were like, this is awesome.
And just to help clarify, I'm going to have Scott answer that. And so just to give you a reference point, Blake and I are running and building the whole campaign, but he didn't help shape the movie. And so just to give a clear for your question, Scott really, carved what is the movie, and I'm producing anything he needs to do that. And then once the movie was made, Blake and I are running to share it. So when we talk about what we have coming up, I'll pass that to Blake. And Scott, what was the piece of that?
I mean, it's amazing. It is a really special relationship, a producer director, because, if Lukas doesn't do his job well, I can't even do my job. So there's a whole scene of Jacob's Well, where it's one of my favorite scenes in the film. That was Lukas, me saying I needed to do this scene. I know we needed to do this scene. I had an idea that we needed to actually dig a new well to recreate that scene, but I didn't even have time to really go look at the hole or the well until we were shooting it. I think I might have glanced at it from afar while doing another shot, but he put that together. And if he doesn't do that well, and he asks me how I want it, I'm like, as deep as you can go. And that's,
yeah.
And then if I walk over there and it's time to shoot it and it's not, because we were moving so quickly, if it's not amazing, then I don't have a scene. So it's literally that kind of symbiotic relationship, kind of like Venom, where it's like, Lukas is my Venom. So I've never said that out loud. You probably don't even know. You probably don't even know I'm in the movie Venom, but that's funny. So in the
movie Venom, for real?
yeah. Really? I just never thought about a producer as symbiotic. The element of Mully Ways is a happy accident. We call that in movies where that's a question for Charles. If he knew, I think, I want to take credit as being some wizard here, but I think that Mully Ways was a way for him, being an astute businessman, to say, hey, this is a way to brand his name and brand ways. So if you need to get from one place to another, you take Mully Ways. Very smart. And I think that, again, when he started his own child orphanage, if you will, and all the things that MCF is, it's Mully Children's. And the key there is family. Because that's what sets it apart than most orphanages, where you have a cot, you have a bed, you have some school. This is a family. This is, and he really treats it as such. Like, you can't go to Mully Children's Family and adopt that kid. I know you adopted, and that's a beautiful thing you've done. I congratulate you. It's so selfless, and I didn't know that about you. So kudos to you. You're really making a difference in your child's life. And I don't know if you would let me come adopt your child, right?
Right. I like him. I like him.
You can't go there. So it is a family. And I think Mully Children's Family is the key there.
And I think exactly what you said, where it's almost like how you can see things from the outside that the individual can't always see. And you do find these happy accidents where we find all these pieces of footage that we put together, and we're like, oh, we have it on the side of a bus, and we have it on a sign, and we have it here. And you start to see it, and then it tells that story that, unbeknownst to him, he's been walking, but couldn't see it. And I think exactly what you said, where it does shift to his own way unknowingly, but then obviously, right? It becomes apparent visually and spiritually.
Yeah. Okay, so Blake, tell me what you do. Because I clearly don't understand this whole thing. So tell me what you do, Blake.
So what I got brought onto the movie to do was to release this movie internationally with Scott and Lukas. So the film was released in the United States and Canada and came out in theaters and everything else. And as we came upon 2020 and the world was in a place of kind of chaos, you know, Lukas and Scott and, you know, the other producers of the movie really saw the need for this story, for Charles's story to be seen by the world, that in this time of crisis that the world needed stories that were hopeful, that inspired you to do better, to uplift, to show you that the world isn't just a terrible, sad place, that there are amazing people out there doing beautiful work. So they brought me onto this project, and we're releasing it internationally this weekend. We're releasing the film in 17 languages. Wow. We've got screenings happening all weekend across 4 continents.
Is it 17 now, or is it 16?
I think it's 17 now. Yeah, 17.
I invented a language for you.
I did my own. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, releasing this weekend, and we're doing screenings on Facebook at the World's Largest Family page on Facebook. We've got a last couple of screenings tonight. We have a screening in the United States in English, and then we have a Spanish screening at 5:30 Pacific and 7:30 Eastern tonight.
Or 8:30 Eastern, yes.
8:30.
Okay, 8:30 Eastern. So anyone that wants to watch Mully tonight, which I highly recommend watching Mully. I believe it's so much more than a simple, like, hey, this is a good movie. This was something that as I watched it, I knew that my children would watch it and that I would share it with friends and family. And I encourage you, when you watch this film, watch it again with your children and your friends and family, because this is a message that we, I just believe as believers, we are called to instill this message into our children and into our neighborhoods and into our friends, because this is what Christ is instilling in us. So I want to thank y'all. Blake, I'm thinking that maybe we should get you to produce the news in America, because it sounds like that you would be hopeful and uplifting. So I'm going to vote for you to do that. But I just really,
that. Yeah. And so the way it's happening is on our World's Largest Family page, the English version will be streaming along with, we presented this 3 years ago, and the movie has impacted MCF in a dramatic way, with growth, with expansion, and then with the impact on people that have seen it. And so we include a 20-minute update of how people have been impacted since the movie came out, how they've been impacted, and then the current state of events at MCF from coronavirus until this moment. And so it's a fantastic update on today, where they're at today, what they're going through, and getting to know who they are, and asking you to join the family and become a part of the family by being involved following on the Facebook page, going to visit their organization, donating to help them with a hospital, and then potentially, when we're allowed, go in there to meet him and his family, because it's an incredible experience to go there and wake up at 6 a.m. to 400 children singing by the river. It's a little slice of heaven. And it is, you touch the ground that it seems where humanity started. And anyway, it's a beautiful experience. But we'll show the English version on that page, and then we have a Mully Movie page, because we're streaming at the same time. We'll be streaming the Spanish version. And what I mean by Spanish is that it's a full, amazing dub done by an incredible actor named Eduardo Verástegui, who's the producer on the film as well, executive producer, and a man named Alejandro Sanz, who's a musician who came on board after he felt moved by the film and wanted to support it and help bring attention to it. And so we're premiering a song of his at the end of the film called Mama Africana that Universal is releasing on Monday. And so it's the premiere movie with that song, and it's on our pages, but it's also on Alejandro Sanz's page and Eduardo Verástegüi's page. And the neat dynamic that Blake and I have been working on is cross-posting live streams from our page to a number of live streams, so that it reaches more people. And so it'll be on those 3 pages and then a number of more pages. During those times, it can be seen globally. So it is, if someone is in Germany or Australia, they can still watch it, but it's just at that time. And then from there forward, starting tomorrow, it'll be those 2 dubbed languages, and then the other 16 are subtitled languages, 17. And that's then forever available globally for free on YouTube. And our passion is to, it's been held up in, Amazon Prime and DVD world until today. So it can be shared forever, and the message can be heard. It's in Greek and Hebrew and Dutch and Portuguese and 16 in between, Chinese. It's amazing. It's really exciting because I've been waiting for the day to share it broader way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I have a question for all 3 of you. I'm really excited that y'all are, believers working in this industry and doing such amazing storytelling. I love stories, and I believe that is how we change the world. It's like story by story. And so I wanted to know, what are y'all doing next?
We're doing the feature film, I think.
What does that mean?
What am I doing next? I just finished shooting Jurassic World, and my next film I can't say because it hasn't been announced.
What does Jurassic World have a date?
Yeah, that's June 2020, next 2022. I think it's June 8th or 11th. I don't know. What I would say that I'm doing next is just the only thing I can talk about really is the update film. We finished at like 6 a.m., which I hope that people get a chance to watch. I don't know exactly how the avenues of people getting to see that update film are. I think Lukas can answer that, or Blake can answer that better. I just know that that's an exciting thing to put out as an additional piece to Mully, because it was really a feat to shoot that during COVID and have teams in Kenya, and we had a young man named Walter Joel, who was actually his father, and Lukas rescued him from Tanzania, and he joined our film team, and he's still in Kenya, and he kind of headed up with Isaac Mully, who runs the media team at MCF, a great update film that we've been tirelessly editing and putting together to make it in time for this global launch. So I'm excited to share that news with you. And that would be awesome if you get the chance to see that. Did you get it? Have you seen that yet?
No, I've seen, I guess, what the Mully that I've always seen.
Right.
So tonight's release, if you watch that,
too. Yeah. I was going to tell everyone. I don't know if that's helpful to y'all. Is that not helpful?
Yeah, what?
It's on Amazon Prime also. Like, is that helpful?
You have to have an account to watch that, or if you want
to watch it later with people, it is on Amazon Prime.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Everyone that has an account, which seems a lot in the space that we're in, but then there's billions. So yeah, but it's absolutely available there.
Yeah. And I kind of feel like you're halfway like FBI, because like my dad was military, my husband's military, and they're always like, if I tell you, I have to kill you. So now I'm kind of feeling, Scott, that you might also be in the FBI. But that's okay.
I have a film out right now called American Skin that I produced, and that's just now coming out of theaters and is going to be moving to BET Plus and international over the next few weeks. But we're still streaming, and that's available everywhere for rent and purchase.
Yeah, because I feel like I saw LeBron James talking about it.
Yeah, we had a couple great boosts of awareness, so that was incredible. People were just watching and responding to the move. And then, like Scott said, the feature film we're working on, we're writing the acted, narrated version of Mully. So finding an actor, getting a script written, and going to Kenya to tell the story in a different way. So it won't, it'll probably cover the arc of the documentary, but Scott's directing, I'm producing along, and we're working with another producer named Gil Netter, and we've talked about him before, and my knowing of him is because of his seeing the documentary and wanting to get involved with the Mully feature. So that that's in the works. And then I have a couple documentaries that I'm in the middle of editing right now. One's close to releasing on hate and forgiveness. And then I'm doing one on blindness or blind athletes. And that's in the edit phase. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Weren't you involved in something, Lukas? Am I getting this wrong? With there's a movie about a guy in Colombia.
Oh, yes. I have a film that I'm a producer on that Scott plays a role in as well.
Okay.
Called The Sound of Freedom. And that's planned to release mid-year. We've pushed the release date a couple years, but it's based on Operation Underground Railroad and Tim Ballard, who has rescued trafficked children from Colombia. Jim Caviezel plays the lead, and that's going to get a really powerful release, social action campaign built around that. And that's coming in July, or that's the effort right now. COVID really affected our entire world's releasing ability and filming ability. So everything's more up in the air than ever before, but it will be coming out soon. And that's a fantastic journey story.
We'll have to have all of y'all back, and we can talk about that as
Absolutely.
well when that comes out. And Blake, what are you doing next?
Probably working on the feature film with Scott and Lukas, and then Scott and I have got a couple of different projects in various stages of development, some film and some movie stuff. So that'll be next.
Blake, don't forget to mention we're doing the Showtime pilot. We just got yesterday.
Right. What's that?
It's a pilot we're doing with Showtime. That it's a basketball. There's a guy you can go look at his Instagram, Lethal Shooter, and he watched Mully. The reason why I bring it up is he watched Mully when he had no followers really, and we became friends. And now he's one of the most shared social media people, especially in the sports space. We created a show, and we were up till 7 a.m. working on Mully, and then we jumped into a meeting with Showtime at 8, and no sleep, and then they love it. And that Lethal. His name's Chris Matthews. He has this philosophy called Locked In, which is a lot of what I look up to is what Kobe Bryant had, which is this Mamba mentality. But and then mixed in with the Mully kind of spirit behind mission work through telling stories is it's going to be a really cool sports show. And when Blake's producing that, so
that's exciting. Well, I want to thank y'all so much for coming on and talking to us about Mully, and also for making it available on Facebook today. You said it's in Spanish and English, 8:30 Eastern time.
Yes.
Is that right? And you can find that, once again, where can they find it?
On Facebook.
Okay. And we'll try to drop a link. Maybe Blake, could you drop a link on our comments under there for us?
Mully Movie. So both of those 2 pages. And Blake, let's put in Alejandro Sanz and Eduardo's pages.
Oh, that would be great.
And then do you know of a young man actor named David Henry by name? Wizards of Waverly Place. He was also the lead in Little Boy.
Oh, okay. I love Little Boy. I really do. It's like one of my favorite movies. I watch it over and over.
You jumped up. You jumped out of your chair.
I do. I love it.
So he plays the lead young man in that. He's announcing, and promoting the USA version, while Eduardo and Alejandro are pushing the Spanish version. So there's some little promo stuff from him. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank y'all for coming on, and everyone that watches Mully today. One of the main messages that I, as just someone who watched it, walked away with was that these 3 guys are using their talents to tell amazing stories, to help change the world little by little, picture by picture. And what Mully did was amazing, because he didn't have to go to another country, and he didn't have to go find a brand new city to live in or something that was all new. He literally looked at, where am I born? Where did I start? And knew that God had put him there for a purpose. And so he started taking back and reclaiming ground for his country. And I love that. And so I just feel like in every single one of us that watches this film, that you don't have to get on a boat and go somewhere brand new to make a difference. You can make a difference at the table with your children sitting there when you speak of things like Mully, Dr. Charles Mully's story, and you tell them how to be kind and compassionate and loving. You can make a difference on your street when you act these things out for your neighbors that so many of us feel shut in and away from each other right now in the season of COVID. And I think that you can make a difference every single day where you are. So I just want to encourage y'all to watch the movie Mully, and thank you 3 men for making a difference by being willing to tell this amazing story that has impacted at least one life here by watching it. So thank y'all.
Thank
We'll
you.
see y'all later.
Thank you.
Bye.